Alrighty, welcome back. Another episode of Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks. Hot off of the first round of playoffs, the wild card round. Lots of good stuff out of that. I do think first, just want to say that we obviously thoughts for everyone involved in the LA fire. That's really crazy. I mean, have you heard about that? I'm sure from over in London.
Yeah, the word's gotten over.
Yeah. The smoke probably got over too.
It's
It's
very true.
crazy. Yeah. Um, I think it's pretty believed that these are acts of arson, which is not good. So hopefully they can identify the culprits if that's the case. But hope everyone out there, if anyone listening that lives out there, you're doing fine and safe and all that stuff. So, but speaking of did you see that the Cardinals actually hosted the Rams and not the Rams. Yeah, Rams and Vikings game.
I did see that. That was, you know what's amazing is like how quickly they make these things happen.
Oh yeah.
Like it was like what 2 days before they announced, yeah, we're gonna move the game. I mean, surely they were, planning it. It looked like it was gonna go that way. And then within like 2 days' notice, they're hosting 60,000 people or whatever in an NFL stadium. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like the Cardinals were playing. Like the season's been over. They didn't have that ready.
I mean it's kind of in like could you imagine if like in a world where the Giants were in the playoffs and New York like had a natural disaster and they're like we got to play in the Eagles Stadium for a home game. Like that'd be kind of weird, but I mean, obviously, emergency situations. But because
I mean,
I
I
saw
definitely
that,
definitely heckle. We definitely heckle.
oh yeah,
I just go to the tailgate parking lot and just wear
ugh.
whatever the other teams.
But because I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, they're rivals technically because they're both in the same division. But I was like,
Yeah, got to
yeah,
do what you got to do.
they sent like a bunch of planes. I think two of the Cardinals planes out to pick up like the players and their families of the Rams and stuff. So it's a good gesture, good look on the league to come together for
The
tragedies like
NFL
that.
literally
So,
can do anything. They just
oh,
like anything is possible.
unlimited power. Yeah.
They make things like I feel like that was just like looked on as like just natural. Like, oh yeah, they're gonna play in Arizona. Cool. All right, sounds good. Like nothing. Like it was just like a flick of the wrist and it just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on to the games of the weekend. We got to obviously start with our birds. A little stressful for my liking, but they came out with the
Too
dub.
stressful.
A little too, yeah. It was a weird game, but Eagles
This
did
game was
win
like
22
they
to
just
10.
looked so much better than the Packers. So much better. It was insane to me that at halftime it was 10 to nothing. Like it
Yeah.
looked like it should have been like 28 to nothing.
The final score probably should have been like 35-10. Like
Oh,
they
it
should
wasn't even
have.
close to
Yeah.
the score was a lot closer than that game was.
Yeah. So it started off obviously with the fumble on the kickoff, which obviously Packers fans are still complaining about because technically it looked like the Packers player recovered, but they didn't blow the
I think
whistle, and he
that ball was moving. You could see the ball. It was moving.
it like it's funny because like obviously if we were Eagles, like it was the flip scenario, we would obviously be upset too. But that's just like that's how like anytime there's a fumble and there's a fucking mosh pit, it's always whoever comes. It's never who actually got it first. It's whoever ends up with it. Like.
I don't think he had a possession. Like you
It
look at
was
the
moving a
highlight, you
little, so
can
I
see
don't
the
think he was
ball moving.
fully
Like it's in
controlled.
different spots every time you view it. This is
Yeah.
like the fumble rules, are having the catch. Do you control it? It's like when you hit the ground, does the ball move? I mean,
Yeah.
the ball was moving.
Yeah, it was weird. It's strange because for as dominant as it looked like we were, at least as a better team, like our numbers were if you just look at like the stats, you probably would have thought that Green Bay might have pulled it. It looked like it was close and that you would have thought Green Bay pulled it out because they had more first downs. Their third down, I didn't even realize our third down was this bad. Our third down efficiency was 2 for 11.
Oh
Theirs
yeah,
was
it was awful.
7 for 13. They had a couple like fourth quarter gimme ones where we were playing back, but still. Um, they only punted twice, which is kind of wild. We punted five times.
That
Um,
offense looks so stagnant. You thought coming into this game when Oren Burks gets a forced fumble on the kickoff, and then 3 plays later, Jameer Dotson of all people catches a touchdown. At that point, I was like, "Oh my God, Dotson's catching touchdowns. We're getting fumbles on kickoffs to start the game. Like
mhm.
this is gonna be a blowout. Things are just out of control now. Like talk about the wildest bingo card ever to start that playoff game.
Yeah,
And then that was
I
it. That was it. That was the only that you didn't see them do anything positive, short of the field goal, but after that whole half, they just looked dead.
well they got it, and then I think it was at like the 30 or something like that. Couple of nice runs by Saquon, and then Jalen Hurts had like 4 hours to throw the ball, finds Dotson,
Yeah.
like you said, in the back of the end zone, which good for Dotson. That's good for his confidence going into the playoffs because we'll probably need to count on him at some point to make a big play like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I really think also, and I've like been pretty critical on this game, and I know a lot of the media has, but like I do think it's like a double whammy of being off for a week, Jalen having not played or practiced or being able to watch film or do anything until like last week. Because I remember the one press conference he was saying how he literally couldn't do any, like could not do anything, couldn't throw the ball, couldn't look at film until he was fully cleared, which that'll set you back.
Oh yeah.
And I also think the Packers defense like had a really good game plan. I think they because if you like that whole second and third quarter was like constant pressure. Like there was some guy getting through our line every time, and you like it was surprising for how stout our line is that people were leaking through, but whatever they were doing was working.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was a good game for them to have a nice ugly game, so they can kind of patch some stuff up. And I think I don't know. We'll have to see how Jalen plays and how the offense as a whole plays this week against the Rams. But I think the defense is gonna be our
Oh yeah. The
bend
defense
don't
looks
break of this
incredible.
team. We're gonna like the defense wins championships is gonna be in full effect if we make it
I
far
mean,
enough.
they managed to pick off Love 3 times. They had the fumble on the kickoff. Like the defense really gave Jordan Love fits. And I get it. Like, some people are gonna say, yeah, well, it was top 3 wide receivers weren't there. Before those injuries started happening, like they still couldn't do anything either. They looked like they were miserable. Josh Jacobs had some nice runs. He did
I
look
mean,
pretty
he's a
good.
beast. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still think overall the defense was very good. A lot of positives to take from it, especially in a game where, like you said, they punted so many times. The Eagles kept going 3 and out. I feel like the
Hmm.
defense was on the field nearly like 3 quarters of the game. But it was good to see defensively. I think the offense was definitely rusty, and not having
Oh
Hurts
yeah,
there, it looked like it. Um, but yeah, I mean, give credit to the Packers. I think I saw Dan Orlovsky was going over game film and like showing the all 22 of like some of the passing plays and how no one was open. I wasn't too thrilled with the play calling. I thought
agreed. Yeah, I think
like
play calling was weird.
like you said, like they Packers were throwing stuff at them. They were getting pressure. No one was getting open, but it didn't seem like Kellen was changing anything. It seemed like we were running the same plays. A lot of wide receiver screens that never worked.
Yeah,
Granted, that one to Dallas Goedert worked, of course, but
that was an awesome play
it was. I mean, that's the other part of the playoffs, man. Sometimes you just need players to step up big and
for him to
give.
catch that like stumble, get up, stiff arm this man three times towards the end zone. It was
Oh
just
boy,
a thing of beauty. And he said he slowed down the last time just to give him a little bit more of a a little more punch.
you got to build it. You got to
A
build
little
up
more
your
bully
energy a little
action.
bit. I've never seen a player go after his teammate on the sideline for something like that, like blown coverage,
Hmm.
penalties, missed assignments, lack of like laziness or whatever. Never seen him just like go at him over just a complete ass handing. Like, sorry, like, what do you say? Like, yeah, I know. I ate his palm for like
Yeah.
30 yards. It's not really much I could do.
Yeah, that's gotta be rough. You know, that's somebody's son. But it was funny also the when Saquon obviously had that first down and then he slid. Um well apparently that was the play call. So he was technically supposed to go down no matter what if he got the first. they called it like a kill play or whatever. I don't remember what it was called. But as soon as he got that first, he was supposed to go down. Um, and Devontae and AJ like on the sideline were like waving him. He's like, Come here, come here. Why'd you go down? Like you had a
Of
touchdown."
course. I
Like,
mean, of course. You're not going to give up like what was that been like a 60-yard touchdown runs in the playoffs,
and
But
yeah, that a lot of people had parlays for him to score a touchdown, and they all just cried a little bit there. But
as in gambling is a cruel mistress.
mm, that it is.
This I think there was enough positives to make me think that they're going to be okay. I mean, I always thought they were going to
Yeah,
beat the
I
Packers.
agree. To
I mean,
play like that offensively and to win by 12 and still even though the stats are kind of skewed, it still looked like we were the dominant team. I think that's a good sign. They just got to
I
clean
mean,
up some stuff.
after the Dotson touchdown, that the offense for the rest of the game up until like the fourth quarter looked like arguably the worst I've ever seen it this year. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that was really pathetic. They really couldn't do much.
I don't know
And you,
if the Packers just showed a completely different defense than they expected or what happened, but they looked confused and lazy and I don't know what it was. But yeah, it was just a combination of bad calling, bad play, bad execution. But
you got a little rust. The
like I said,
Packers came
all
up
of
with a
that
good
and we
plan.
still won. So
That was my biggest like concern is you're not going to get away with that every game going
oh
forward.
yeah,
You got
no.
to put teams away. Like
Yeah.
look at all the other playoff games. Really, there was only one competitive game in the playoffs because I don't count this as a competitive game. The score will tell you, but it really wasn't. All of them were blowouts by a lot. I mean, the Rams put away the Vikings quickly. The Bills put
Yeah,
away
that
the
was shocking.
Broncos quickly. Um, Ravens handled the Steelers. Like all these teams just handled their business early.
Yeah. It was nice though. Quinion Mitchell finally got his first interception. Kind
That's
of
true.
game sealer. And Slay, I didn't know this. Nick told me. That was the first time we had a corner with an interception all season. None of our corners have interceptions apparently.
Really, Slay doesn't have any.
Mm.
I knew Quinion didn't.
So we had, I think Reed, I think had three or four. CJ, I think had five or six, and then our linebackers had some picks, but none of our corners had interception this year.
Zach Bone showing up again.
That's
Looking
what I
great.
was when we were watching it. I was like, he made a couple bad plays in the first quarter, like just bad angles on tackles and stuff. And I was like, usually when he does that, he'll come back out and make up for it with a sack or something. And then he picked off, Andrew Love, Jordan Love.
He's
So
incredible.
it was great. I mean, the defense is going to carry us, and the offense will be our exclamation point. I think,
I think what you'll see is what like the offense, no matter how much it struggles, there's so much talent on this team. Eventually, someone like Dallas Goedert is just gonna manhandle a dude 30 yards down the field into the end zone. Like
yeah,
Saquon's just gonna break one. They're like there's so much talent that they'll eventually make a big play, even if it's not going well. But I mean, I think the biggest concern and the biggest negative, how do we feel about Nakobe Dean? I'm very definitely a guy that makes you very sad.
yeah. I mean, for someone who was pretty critical of him his first few years, not being able to stay healthy and not knowing if he's going to be our future linebacker. He had a great year. I think he missed maybe like one or two games this season. Had
Oh
that
yeah, find
game
me a better
clinching,
duo
had that game
than him
clinching
and Ball.
interception against the Jags, and
Oh, I forgot about that. That was
he
beautiful.
him and Baum were yeah. I would have never thought I'd be saying one of the best linebacker duos in the league, but they were.
Philadelphia
Um,
Eagles and best linebacker duo in the league. That's something I've never
not
seen
on my
happen.
bingo card.
Yeah.
But no, it sucks. Not only for the playoffs, because that first like the first quarter, he already had like four or five tackles. He had a couple
No,
tackles
he's
for
everywhere.
loss. He was
Yeah, he was killing it.
flying. That's the one thing that he's when he's healthy, it's noticeable because what he lacks in like size, which is why I think he's a lot like who was it like London Fletcher type of smaller backers where they might not be the tallest guy or the biggest guy, but they are super smart and can recognize plays. They're quick. So that's going to be missed. He was very good at reacting to plays and reading things, and um, I think Bond's just going to have to step up a little bit, which is, I mean, he's already
It's
been
true.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
Who takes his spot? Burks?
it's gonna be Burks, and I wouldn't be surprised if Trotter got kind of rotated in a little bit too.
Yeah.
Which is I think he played well in preseason, so I'm excited to see more of Trot. But big time for a rookie to.
Hey, last time we took a rookie off the bench on defense, we flipped it completely. Maybe
That's
he
true.
gives us some of that magic that DeJean gave us.
That's true. And another Bama guy, we had uh Nolan Smith, 2 sack game, looking good. So
The
it's nice to
Georgia
see.
Dogs are representing well.
Yeah, yeah. But I was gonna say with Nakobe, hopefully the injury isn't super impactful to his start of next year. I would figure this late in the season might carry in. He might miss September or something. I don't know how long these injuries
Hey,
work, but
we got a Super Bowl run to worry about now, though.
true.
He
I
will
think
be
Burks will be
missed.
a okay substitution because he played for I think San Fran last year in the Super Bowl. So,
I mean,
but
no, if his hit on Nixon was anything to, get excited for, that's
yeah,
pretty impressive.
yeah.
So how do we feel wrapping up the Packers? I
Hmm.
think this was a game it was definitely, I felt like a one-sided game. The score will tell you otherwise, but this
Yeah,
was a game that they
a
could have put
stressful
this away.
one-sided game. Yeah.
They should have put this game away in the second quarter, and they better clean that up because they got to find a way to put teams down. Otherwise, they're going to run into these problems. I'm not going to call panic yet on the offense.
No,
I
no.
think I think there was some rust, but I still think you saw sometimes Hurts had a day and a half to throw. The offensive line was still playing really well. Dallas
Yeah.
Goedert had the play of the season, and the defense is so good that I think you can have a couple more of these stinkers
Yeah.
and still be in it.
That's the key. You play like poorly like that on offense, and you still win by 12. Like I'm not worried. I think they know what's at stake. They know that they can't put that same performance out there against the Rams. So um, I think we'll see. We'll see. I think the Packers are better than the Rams. But
The Rams, the
the Rams
Rams,
are spicy right now.
they're spiced. They were the team that I think I remember talking about this when Stafford and Cup trade rumors were coming around. I'm like,
Hmm.
this team still has a lot of talent. Like they're
Oh
a team
yeah.
that if they get in the playoffs, I wouldn't want to see them. But I think they're better than the team we played earlier in the season. They look a lot better
Their
now.
defense
Their
has gotten a
defense,
little better.
yeah, those young guys have really made an impact. Jared Verse looks awesome. He ruined Sam Darnold's life.
Just see him doing a fucking suplexing
Oh
or
my
swan
God,
diving,
yeah.
whatever that was. Like,
They were that like Now, granted, between the two, I definitely wanted the Vikings because I thought the Vikings were more of the team we saw just get annihilated by the Rams than I did this 14-win team throughout the regular season. But and they followed the same game plan the Lions did. I don't see that be really hurting us. I like Jalen is not getting sacked 9 times. There's no
no,
way.
no.
Our offense line's too good. It's infinitely times better than the
If
Vikings offense line.
if he got sacked 9 times, I wouldn't believe it. I just like it doesn't. It's not gonna
He
happen.
won't. It won't happen. The other thing
I
is, man, if they run that pressure, like there was times that if Sam Darnold could just, not just take a crap every time that he felt some pressure, there was running lanes there.
Yeah,
I think Jalen's legs could be a big difference maker. And I thought that when Darnold played the Lions. So it'd be if they're going to run that same package and pressures, I think we'll be fine.
crazy. It's crazy that the Vikings only lost to two teams all year. It was the Lions twice and the Rams twice.
Well, I
But
mean, they're probably two of the best teams they played all year.
yeah. No, but yeah, I think like you said, I think this is a better team than the Eagles dominated in the early in the season when Saquon had his season high like
At
255 rushing
255, I
yards,
think it was something insane.
but like 300 scrimmage yards or something crazy. Yeah, he went off, but that's the thing. Like, if they shut down Saquon, then we throw the ball. If they shut down the air game, then we run the ball. And if they shut down that, well, then we go to the tight ends. Like they'll find a way. I'm not too concerned. I think we would have had a tougher time with Minnesota. Um,
Oh, I don't know, man. Did you watch Minnesota against Detroit?
I think it would have been similar to this game. I think to the Packers game. I think it would have been slow scoring because I think Flores would have had a good game plan for us, even though it looked like the Rams were kind of doing whatever they wanted. But um, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to play them over the Minnesota, so we'll see. Um,
Okay. I mean, we handled them pretty confidently. I mean, I think our defense will be fine. I mean, the Rams have got an offense. You know, McVay's going to have a good game plan. Stafford will step up in the big moments. He's just not going to take a crap like Jordan Love did.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot more talent around him with Williams, Puka. I just still think, I still think we're the better team. I think they're better than they
Oh, for
were
sure.
in the beginning of the year, but I just still see us better in pretty much every, you know, um,
Bassett.
sort of, yeah, facet of the game. No, that's the word I'm looking for.
Um, yeah, I agree. Also, did you what was your rating on the pedigree celebration that Quinyon and Cooper did after Quinyon got his interception?
I was a fan. I mean, I felt like it was rushed. I
It was
felt like,
definitely rushed.
I mean, granted, I'll give it to him. He's probably been sitting on that in the entire season because he
Yeah,
hasn't had a pick.
that was his day one celebration. Cooper's like, "Oh,
So
what the fuck were we supposed to do?"
it definitely seemed rushed. It felt like the moment was, not the moment to kick out an awesome celebration. But hey, listen, two young bucks out there. I'll give it to him. I thought it was good. Cooper sold it well.
It was a little rough. They gotta lock that in a little more. But it
Yeah,
was
it's gonna be
funny
a little tighter.
seeing Triple H tweet about it. So
Yeah,
um,
it's great, great celebration idea. I love
yeah.
the idea.
But yeah, I like our odds, and we can break that when we get into like the predictions. But the other games, like you said, they were all kind of blowouts. I mean, Ravens won 28-14 over the Steelers. Steelers were never even really in this game.
Steelers, all right, my little rant about the Steelers. We can talk about coaches or whatever, but now that the Steelers done and they won't be relevant, I am on the full believing I think they need to fire Mike Tomlin. And I say that with I'm confident that the Mike Tomlin Red Steelers can be 9-8, 10-7, 11-6 for the next decade, and then losing the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the problem is like if you want to do that, that's fine. Like the Pittsburgh is a good organization. They've got enough talent there. Mike Tomlin is a good enough coach that they can do that every single year. And it's very impressive that he can bring them to the playoffs every single year, which he will do. But at the end of the day, like you got to rip the band-aid off. Like you want to get better than that. Or if you're fine with that modest, level of success, then go, so be it. But I just don't see this team breaking the ceiling. Their offense looks awful. Mac Tomlin has not. I can't think of a good offensive coordinator that has come from the Steelers. Tomlin has got his
It's
fingerprint on
true.
the defense, so the defense coordinator never matters. But
Uh,
Matt Canada stinks. People were saying how great Arthur Smith was this year because Russell and Fields were revitalized. I don't know. The offense couldn't do anything. They didn't show up. Like I also can't think of a coordinator that Mike Tomlin's had that has become a head coach. Like I don't think he picks coaches very well. I
mm,
think some of the parts, some of all the parts in Pittsburgh come together. He's a good coach, a good motivator, and they do their thing, but they'll never break the ceiling. And the last time they won a Super Bowl or played in a Super Bowl, we were in middle school. The last time they
it's weird.
actually were contenders for a Super Bowl was 17 when they lost the Jags with the triple Bs, and we were in college. It's so long ago. Like, and they're getting worse. And you're really stuck in this vortex of just mediocrity. And how do you get out of it? If you fire Tomlin and you bring on a new coach and you stink for a couple of years, so be it. But that's really the only way I see them actually getting better. If you're willing to rip the band-aid off, accept the fact that you know what, there is a chance that we will not be in the playoffs. There's a chance that we won't see a winning record. But to actually be a Super Bowl contender, to break the ceiling, this is really the only way. Because I just see a 10-7 team losing in the first round of the playoffs. And you know what? The Steelers were outclassed by the Ravens. They weren't even in their league.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I can't recall if we talked about it last on the last episode or not, but to me, it's literally like when Andy Reid was in Philly, and it was just like we were getting like 8-8 seasons back to back, and we're just like this isn't working anymore. Like we need a refresh. So I don't know if Mike Tomlin would ever coach for another team or if he'll just retire or whatever. Like I think we said, but yeah, it's just not working. Like it's
I just think, these
six straight
young
years of
offensive
losing
coordinators,
in the first round. Like what do you?
that's what I mean. And
Any other
he
coach
can
would have
do
got
that for the
fired.
next 6 years. Yeah,
If
and he'll do
Sirianni
that
did
for
that,
the
he would
next
have gotten
years.
canned 3 years ago.
He
Like,
would have been assassinated.
yeah, it's weird.
I just think the loyalty, I
Yeah.
mean, Pittsburgh will tell you, oh, we've only had three coaches since 1960, and they've got six Super Bowl rings and all
I
that,
mean,
and
who
that's
cares
great.
at this point?
They're a
Like,
great organization. But part of that is great organizations can find success outside of one head coach. Mike
hmm,
Tomlin is not the organization. Bill Belichick made the Patriots organization. Mike Tomlin is not Bill Belichick. You know, He's like the Steelers will find success if they move on from him. The Patriots are struggling finding success with Belichick because, well, they also had him and Brady and a level of dominance that'll never be seen again. But the Chiefs, Reed built the Chiefs, but he also has Spagnuolo he brought in, who's a great defense corner. Now he stumbled into Pat Mahomes, but they had some bad years before that. It's kind of how you have to do it. Like, what do you want to do? Keep running with Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, who was a bust, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Like, this team's going to stuck in mediocrity. Where are you getting your franchise quarterback? You don't have these young, incredible offense coordinators that can develop guys. Arthur Smith got fired from the Falcons for a reason. Even when he was with the Titans, he didn't have any good quarterbacks. He just ran Derrick Henry every single play, which was a sound strategy.
Yeah, I mean that's when you think about it from kind of that perspective about them not having a franchise. Now, obviously, Russ is a franchise Q, but like he's not like their franchise
When? A
quarterback.
decade ago?
That's not, yeah. So I'm saying like they haven't had one since Big Ben. And when you make the playoffs every year but don't do anything, like you're not gonna have good draft stock. You're not gonna be able to pick one of these top quarterbacks. So you're really left to just get lucky in the second or third round to land on a guy. But
I
I,
mean, that part of look at this way. Big Ben was gifted to Mike Tomlin. Big Ben was already there.
yeah,
Big Ben already had a Super Bowl ring before Tomlin took over. Like he was gifted as franchise quarterback, and he's never come close to sniffing another one. And they've really, even like the Triple B was the last successful Steelers team,
Tomlin has a
and
ring,
you
doesn't
had,
he?
yeah, the second one, Ben, but Ben already had
Oh yeah,
one
yeah.
before Tomlin came
Okay,
along.
okay, yeah.
But I just don't see it. Nothing he's done makes me think he's going to build a winning team. Offensively, they've faltered, but it's just I don't know. Pittsburgh fans, I've talked to some Pittsburgh fans, and I think they're pretty content and don't want to give up on Tomlin. And they're like, we're okay with first round exits, making the playoffs every year
That's
for the
crazy
next
to me.
6 years. Because Pittsburgh is, they're a proud franchise. Don't get me wrong, they're one of the best franchises in the NFL. So they don't want to go 4-12 or 3-13. But part of that is also that they're not going to give up on Tomlin. They love Tomlin. They're one of three coaches they've ever had.
Which is insane in the grand scheme of things. But I
Got
don't.
to
It's
risk it sometimes.
it's not. I'm not. He's not. He's not the. I wouldn't say he's the problem, but it's just like where does what you need a big change for this team to make a jump, and whether it's like getting better scouts or whatever. Because like Najee Harris is a bust. Let's be real.
Oh, complete
And
bust. But he keeps
besides,
running them out there, and that's like their vital part of their offense.
yeah, and they did like what 30? They had like 30 rushing yards against the Ravens, and the Ravens had like almost 300 or something. Like it's just it's a weird team. I mean, even TJ Watt apparently was like missing the last couple games, like hasn't racked the stat. Um, you just need more, especially on offense. They just need more talent, consistency at quarterback. But I don't know. If I was a fan, like I'd be like, yeah, it's nice that we're like a winning team and the games can be enjoyable here and there, but it just
Now obviously he's a good leader. He's a good coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but I think he needs a new voice. And look at some of the stuff. Like
that's the
Deontay
thing.
Johnson, you give him some credit because Deontay Johnson has fallen off the wagon.
I
He's
don't know.
like the guy's
Three teams
toxic,
in like a month. I don't know what the hell's going on with him.
but he was a disaster at Pittsburgh. You got George Pickens now who's fallen down that same path. He's calling out, like saying, this offense, I have no confidence in it.
He's a weird guy.
It's just, I don't know.
Typical Steeler
They're
receiver.
such, and now maybe that's Mike Tomlin's talent. Maybe they're like, we can draft whoever. They got character concerns. It doesn't matter. Mike Tomlin will keep them together. And credit to him because we saw what Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown did. I give him credit. That's pretty good. But I also think, that's just going to get you by.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but hey, if they're content with just being a first round playoff exit for the next year, so be it.
I don't see him getting let go until he has a losing season at this point. I don't think
Well,
they
that's what I mean. I don't think he's gonna have I don't see a 4-12 or 3-14 season in his future. He's just gonna keep
uh
doing this. So whatever,
yeah.
it's not my franchise, but I can tell you the Steelers were not even close to the Ravens league.
Oh,
And they never, not once in this entire season did they ever have real Super Bowl hopes.
no, I mean Derrick Henry had 100 86. Derrick Henry had 186 yards and two touchdowns. Najee Harris had 17 yards. I mean, George Pickens had a nice game, 5 catches, 87 yards, but a touchdown. But yeah, it was all pretty much all Baltimore. I mean, almost doubled their yardage. The Baltimore had 29 first downs to Pittsburgh's 11.
They couldn't
10
even
of
slow them down.
10 of
They just were
15 third down
marching.
efficiency. Like,
So, I mean, it's outclassed, just completely outclassed.
yeah. They also had the ball 20 minutes more, which is crazy.
Well, you can't do anything on offense and you can't stop them. It's going to happen.
So,
But I mean, that was a blowout. I mean, the Bills just annihilated the Broncos, which to be fair, I think we all saw coming, but the Broncos scored in the beginning of the game and made you think, oh, maybe.
I mean, it
But
was it was 7-3, and then the Bills scored like that last second touchdown before halftime.
yeah, that was a tough one.
That's a crazy one. And
I
then,
mean, give credit to the Broncos though. They were definitely a year ahead in their rebuild. Like I think Bo Nix could be legit. I think they outperformed all their expectations. So good
yeah,
for them. Sean Payton, say what you want about Sean Payton, but that was pretty impressive what he did in the first year with a team that's missing talent.
what is it, second year, isn't it?
No, I think it's his first.
No,
Oh no, yeah, he did have a year with
because he
Russ.
had
Yeah, yeah.
to get Russ off the team first.
That's true. Yeah.
Um, but first with a rookie QB, yeah, yeah. Their Broncos they tried their best. Cool. They had a nice play, the fake punt. Um, Beautiful pass from the punter to Mims got a first down, and then the offense went three and out after that. So it's a waste of a great trick play.
Hey, I mean, the Bills are dominant. They were never in that
Yeah.
game, but then we have the third of four blowouts. This one was just a sloppy game at sometimes. Like, I was like, how are these two teams in the playoffs? The block two-pointer, 2-point conversion that got taken back, like
Uh,
that was just all you needed to see.
that
But
was yeah.
let me read you this stat line.
Okay.
14 of 32 for 242, a touchdown and four interceptions.
Is that a top five QB? That doesn't sound like a top five
I
QB.
mean, he's gonna have to answer some. Now, granted, the players around him really let him down. Besides Ladd McConkey, man, receptions for 197 yards. I mean, the next highest was 16 from Will Dissly, who had a ball hit his hands and fall out for an interception.
Yeah, they got to move on from Quentin Johnson. He fucking sucks. He's a bust.
Yeah, he had zero receptions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it tells you everything you need to know. Will Dissly has the ball hit his hands and turns into an interception, but yet leads the team in receptions for 16 yards. I've never heard of Tucker Fisk in my entire life, but he apparently had 15 yards receiving. Then you had DJ Shark. I don't know if you saw DJ Shark. I thought it was a joke. He posted on like Instagram or something, a blunt, and he's like, "Oh, my friend, finally we get to meet up." And you're like, "Dude, did you like throw the playoff game just so you could go and get high? Like, maybe, sure, good on you." So you had him with another 10 yards, and then Darius Davis, again, guy I've never really heard of.
Hmm.
Outside of that, no one else caught a ball. So I
Yeah.
think to Justin Herbert's credit slightly, he's not working with, the best options, but he also looked awful.
Yeah. I mean, four interceptions. Only I would say one was not his fault because of the tip, but
Yeah, no, yeah.
they just a couple of them were just questionable throws. I mean, 14 for 32 is dog shit. Like
Oh, yeah.
Jalen had a bad throwing game. It was not that bad. Like it was, yeah, he was rough. It was weird. They were up what 6-0, and then I guess similar to the Broncos. Honestly, they looked like they might keep it a tight game, and then Houston came to play. I'll give them credit. I mean, Stroud looked a little rough again, still, uh, but made plays when it mattered most. He made a couple really good clutch plays on like third downs, good
Mhm.
throwing. But the defense I thought played well above their what we thought they were capable of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they had,
Stingley is a phenomenal corner. He made that well known in the playoffs with a pick and
I
some good
mean,
pass deflections. And
Stroud threw an interception. He also fumbled. Or no, I'm sorry, he got that one back. Mechie and Mixon were the ones that fumbled and lost them. So three
yeah,
turnovers,
hmm
and they still kind of blew them out.
yeah,
So, I mean, again, with the Chargers, similar to the Broncos, I think the Chargers were well ahead where we thought they were. I mean, Harbaugh took over a team that wasn't very good and brought them to the playoffs. 11-6 his first year. I'll give him that. That was a pretty good, impressive turnaround.
Yeah, I looking at it now, I mean, Lab McConkey's a cool story, but it's a strange thought that they had Keenan Allen and like prime Mike Williams, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want you guys. We want to go with these guys."
Prime Mike
Um,
Williams. Did you see what Prime Mike Williams did with the Steelers and the Jets? A whole bunch of nothing. I don't know if
no, no,
prime is
no,
the word to go with.
no. When he was with the Chargers, when he was healthy, he was pretty good jump ball guy. Like he was him and Keenan were a nice little duo. And
Oh,
then
well, yeah. I mean,
if you would have added Vlad McConkey in there, that's a nice, solid trio. But
yeah, that's because Quentin Johnson had 5 targets and didn't catch a
he's
single one of
so
them.
bad. I forget
That's
what
not what you
college
want to
he's from,
see.
but he is not.
TCU, baby.
Of course, another TCU wide receiver bust. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they need to find him some weapons. I mean, Herbert has to answer this. This was an ugly game on his part. I mean,
yeah,
he needs to take me because I don't know, man. Like when do you just start letting that go? That's kind of the Chargers' MO is quarterbacks that love padding stats but don't actually do anything when it
yeah.
matters.
I mean, I don't know. I think, like you said, yeah, they definitely need an upgraded receiver and they need an upgrade at running back. The line could be better. Their defense has some really elite talent at certain levels. But Khalil Mack might be the retire. Did you know this is Khalil Mack's first free agency in his career?
Mm, yeah,
He's never
he
gotten to
was.
test free agency because he's always been traded beforehand.
Uh,
But he's like
good
47 or
for him.
something crazy. He's old. But
So that was 3 of 4 blowouts, which is wild in a playoff round. This is like an NBA playoff
yeah,
first
it's
round.
kind of crazy, honestly. The wildcard games are usually much tighter, but
Because then it moves on to our fourth and final blowout, and this may have been the biggest blowout because man,
phew,
they made the Vikings look bad, and that was the
yeah,
Rams spanking the Vikings. If there was a point, I was watching this game. The only thing that kept this game from being a complete disaster, and I mean, there was still a pretty healthy beating. The Rams had like 2 personal fouls that
yeah,
like extended a drive on the roughing the kicker, and forget the other one. The other one was a really stupid one they also got that extended a drive. It's like the Vikings couldn't do anything. And this was early in the game when they were just moving at will. And they had 2 personal fouls that kept that game somewhat close just for a little bit. But yeah, this was still an ass kicking. The same recipe that the Lions had to stop Darnold last week is the same thing the Rams did to Darnold this week, and it worked just as well. May have been better this time.
yeah. It's kind of wild. The These are almost unbelievable. Like if you look at the team stats, well, first of all, the Vikings were 6 of 17 on third down, which is atrocious. But beyond that, they were they had 20 first downs. The Rams only had 16. Um, they punted 3 times. The Rams only punted 5 times. Now, granted, the Vikings also went for it on fourth down 4 times and only made it 1 time, which is
Mm,
nuts.
very
And they
true.
had 10 penalties for 95 yards. Yet somehow won this game just by pure
It,
because like no stats really like Stafford had barely 200 yards. Kyron Williams had like just over 70 rushing. Like Higbee was their best receiver at 58 yards. So it was a weird game for the
yeah, and
Rams,
he left in the first half because he was hurt.
yeah, I mean they were up 21-3 at halftime. Like they were just the Vikings. I
I
think
mean,
Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts again, like he did when he was playing for the Jets. But
he was just like he honestly looked just terrified. Like he was just
yeah,
scrambling in the pocket, like running around. There, I mean, he's not a mobile guy, but there were some points where like it was just open right in front of him. And he could have fallen and picked up 3 yards and then would just run backwards for 6 and then lose like 6 yards. He looked awful.
yeah. I mean, I do also like. I think he's getting a lot of shit. He didn't play well. I will say that, but I also think like you don't get sacked 9 times because your quarterback's bad. Like
Oh
the
no, their offensive line
yeah,
stunk.
the line was bad. The Rams had a good game plan. They were attacking. They were like you said, Jared Verse probably gonna win Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was all over the field. Um, and they just like, but I watching it, Darnold. it felt like I was watching like Jalen Hurts at his worst. Like Darnold was just holding on to the ball way too long. But he was like when he was throwing, he was missing like
Oh, he
receivers,
looked
like throwing at their
awful.
feet. Like he just
It was the
wasn't
same
setting
thing from
himself.
Detroit.
Yeah,
The
he
Detroit game was just as bad.
he just wasn't comfortable at any point that game, and so they couldn't really get anything established. But yeah, their Cinderella season came to a quick end, and but I mean, I'm not like I said, I would have. I'm glad the Eagles are playing the Rams. Hopefully, I don't regret those words, but I think they're a beatable team. I think the Eagles are superior talent wise. So,
To
but
be
we'll
fair,
see.
of the four teams that we could have played, there was only one team that didn't want to play, and thankfully they lost. So the Bucks were the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
team
I
out of
did
the
not want to
four
play
that I
the
didn't want
Bucks.
to see. And we can get to the only competitive playoff game, which was actually a really good game.
hmm
Um, they man, the Bucks and Washington were back and forth, a lot of big plays.
hmm
And then I think the biggest moment was obviously Jaden's a mere like incredible play at the end of the game, and then Baker's just complete blunders at the end. That
Yeah,
fumble was rough. That was it.
but
That was what sealed the game.
yeah, I mean they only lost one, but I mean that yeah,
Oh, I mean, you fumbled right at the end, in
yeah,
the fourth quarter when you're up by three. What was it? I think it was 17-13 at that point. Right when the fourth quarter started, they didn't need to give him that momentum. And then Jaden just takes it and scores a touchdown. Like that's big time right there.
yeah. He was a baller. And so composed for a rookie, like ice in his veins or whatever. Like he was ready. He was ready for the moment. And yeah, I mean, look across the board. I mean, each team only allowed one sack.
Hmm.
Washington never punted. Tampa only punted twice.
They both
No
look good.
interceptions, only that one fumble loss for Tampa, but it was obviously a bad one. Um, but yeah, I was a little like Washington probably could have had this game in hand if they weren't so bold. Um, it's gonna be kind of fun watching Washington and the Lions because I feel like Dan Quinn and Dan Campbell are like the most eager player, like coaches to go for it on fourth down. Besides our tush push, they were three
Yeah.
for five on fourth down. Washington was like they gave up, I think,
Yeah.
three chances at field goals, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Hey,
But
live and die by your boldness. Well, segueing into that, what are we handicapping the Washington's chances against Detroit? 'Cause they look frisky.
I I think they have a good chance. I think it depends on the flow. I think if they get down, um, like if they get down two touchdowns at any point, I think it's over. But I I keep thinking like I know Detroit's defense is like kind of come together even with all the injuries, but we're in the playoffs is where the things are magnified. So I think it might get they might get exposed for all those injuries and having on their like 12th cornerback, um I think it's going to be an offensive shootout obviously. They're kind of in a similar spot because I don't think Washington's defense is very good, but they have good
Well, I was just
coaching.
going to say the Detroit defense is not the one I'm looking at as the
Mm.
X factor. Detroit might put up 60 points against Washington.
Well,
So
yeah, that's
I
what I'm
think it's
saying.
just a
They need
matter
that.
of can
Washington needs to
Washington keep
keep.
up?
They have to keep pace. Yeah. So I said I don't think they can afford to go down more than a score because if you go down two touchdowns, like you gotta score twice and stop them twice just to tie. So we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if it was like these other wild card games where like Washington has like a shot and then halftime happens and the Lions blow them out. But I would love for them to win, the Eagles to take care of business, and the Eagles host the NFC Championship game in Philly against a division rival. That'd be awesome. But
That would be a great setup.
we'll see. We'll
Before,
see.
but going off of this, the one seed versus the wild card team, I think Washington's got a better chance against Detroit than Houston does against Kansas City. Or are you buying into the Kansas City struggles? They're not really that good because I'm on the complete opposite. I think their team, like everyone gives them crap saying they're not very good, they can't score, and yet here they are with one win, one loss, and they'll probably beat Houston and then be a 15-1 team that is now in the AFC Championship for someone that everyone said is a crap team all year.
I mean, it's Kansas City.
Yeah,
It's
that's
it's
exactly where they're
it's
at this
Andy
point.
Reid, it's Pat Mahomes, it's Spagnola. Like they'll find their way to the championship or the Super Bowl. So I'm not.
Yeah, the down year that everyone says they're having is going to get them at 15-1 in the AFC Championship game. That's quite the
I
down
might
year.
I might just bet on Washington and Houston to win just for the hell of it to see what the odds are. But
So
yeah,
what are you
I
handicapping Houston? Are they going to be? I mean, that their secondary gave Justin Herbert nightmares. Are they
they
going to
have,
be able to
they
do that against Mahomes?
their defense is a good unit. They just I think that towards the end of the year they were playing poorly. But yeah, I mean Derek Stingley Jr. is an all pro. Um, I think they have a good obviously a good 1-2 punch with Hunter and the rookie of the year from last year, blanking on his name.
Will
Um,
Anderson.
yeah, and I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think it'll be I can see the Chiefs maybe winning by like 10 or like 6 or something. Like it'll be close to single digits, I think, but um I think Houston has a shot. I just don't know. I would be I'd be more surprised if Houston beat KC than I would have watched him beat Detroit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just don't see. I don't know. I'm the belief that Kansas City is just going to keep winning until I'm not going against Kansas City until they
No.
lose. They're too good. This is where they make their money.
All right. So we're kind of transitioning now into that. So let's just I think so we both had I think identical. No, you picked the Bucks, I believe, right?
I did. Yeah, I
So
did.
I I had the only incorrect I had was the Chargers winning, and then you had Bucks and Chargers winning, so that was wrong. But those teams weren't really doing much afterwards. So this round, so we have Chiefs and Texans. So assuming after that monologue, you're going to take Kansas City.
Of course.
Yeah, I will also go with the Chiefs. Yeah, I think it's good for Houston as such a young team with a still pretty young coach. I love D'Amico, by the way. Uh, I think it's a good for them to get to the second round of the playoffs. Maybe next year, get some players healthy, fix some of the cracks in the offense, um, and then maybe they make it to the championship next year. But I think I think they got to where they like a good spot for them. Obviously, if you're a fan, you want them to go deeper, but I think getting past the wild card is a good luck for them.
I mean, just
Um,
going to Kansas City in a divisional playoff round is not good for anyone.
yeah, so we'll just stay in order. So that's the Saturday 4:30 game. The Saturday 8 o'clock game is Commanders at the Lions.
I'm still rolling with the Lions. I don't see a world where Washington can keep up. Like their defense stinks. The Lions are going to drop 60 points on them. Jaden Daniels is awesome. I think he's going to have trouble keeping up.
Yeah, I think realistically, I would have to take the Lions as well. I think Commanders winning would be a cool story, um, for them, and then just to play the Eagles if the Eagles can make it. It's like a great matchup. I mean, I much obviously like Eagles versus Commanders better than Eagles going to Detroit, but um, I think Lions win. And then Sunday, 3 p.m., Rams at the Eagles. Obviously, we're both go Birds.
Go Birds.
Um, so I think it'll be close. I think the Eagles offense will play a lot better. I
I'd like to see
think,
the passing game improve. I know Saquon ran all over them, but I feel like they're going to learn from their mistakes. I'd be shocked if they just let Saquon run all over them again after he went for 255 the first time. I think they look at the Green Bay film. I think they look at what happened the last time he played, and I really think they're going to try to take away Saquon as much as they can. I mean, Saquon's still going to go for 100 easy, but
yeah, I
this
mean,
is where I'd like for AJ Brown to start catching passes and stop reading books. That would be delightful.
see, I was shocked when I saw him on the sideline reading, but I really don't care. Like if you're he was that we were winning in that situation and it's some kind of book that helps him like focus and like lock in or whatever. If that's his way because some players eat candy. We had Marshawn Lynch eating fucking Skittles, and that was how he kind of relaxed. So I don't have a problem with it. I know some who was it? Greg Jennings was on like Fox, and he was like, "I would never let my teammate do that." I was like, Shut the hell up, Greg Jennings." Like,
To be
who
fair,
cares?
Brady was kind of calling him out with him on the broadcast. I mean, I think it's obviously become a bigger deal than it should have, but at the same time, like, dude, it's a playoff game. There's a million and one cameras. You're AJ Brown. You act like you're not going to be noticed doing this. You've been in the headlines all year with an issue with the offense and Hurts. Like, this is just a narrative that you had to see coming. Like, and I think that's a distraction you didn't need to make for this team.
I,
But whatever. We move on.
I
I'm
feel
over
I
it.
don't know. I feel bad for AJ because he's just trying to play football, and everything he does is just
I
put
think
under a
playing football would have
microscope.
been, yeah, but this time he wasn't playing football. He was reading a book.
Because the defense was on the field. Like I don't.
To
Who
be fair,
cares?
you know what? Then the other flip side of this is where I'm waiting. Like, is he friends with the author? Because the book exploded. I mean, it's like
It's
top
like
of the
number
Amazon
one
list.
seller
Like,
on Amazon. I'm sure.
I mean, I think what he should have done is been reading one of like a book by like maybe one of his boys or agent or something wrote, and like that's the way to go about it.
Magic Treehouse.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Rams. I think we beat the Rams. I'm curious to see what Fangio does to mix up with Stafford in that passing game. Puka Nacua, I'm still reminded every time he plays, he's the top five wide receiver in the league. The good dude is so good.
He's pretty
I, I
good.
feel I feel very confident. You see Puka Nacua, man, this guy just is a force when
Yeah, I
he
saw
gets that
all
ball in his hands.
40 of his receiving yards. I'm not really worried about the Rams.
I think we beat him too, but I'm not going to let yourself don't slip. They remind me of the Packers game. I thought we were going to beat the Packers, but I did think you let your guard down, you're going to lose.
I was
You
more
know,
worried about the Packers game than I am this game. Put that way.
really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because
See, the
well,
Rams
I
have
think I think
the
implications too. Like you can't lose the wild card game. So,
well, yeah,
but
yeah, that's true. And
and
we'll see.
then
And then we have the game of the playoffs so far. The what has become the yearly matchup of who gets to go lose to Patrick Mahomes.
pretty
The
much
Bills versus the Ravens.
this is
I'm
tough.
thinking, I think it's a tough flip because I think the Bills just look more dominant. But the Ravens, this Derrick Henry move has been the like is changed them. What always gets them in the playoffs is, teams stop Lamar from running and they make him pass. And, that's where he struggles a little bit more when you take away that element from his game. But this year, you can't do that. Like Derrick Henry's going to run the ball all over you. If you think, this is what I think is the biggest move for him. I don't think he ever needed a number one wide receiver. I
Hmm.
think he needed someone else on the ground game so that they can't just queue on him in the rushing game. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm probably going to lean to the Ravens.
Oh, switching your pick.
Yeah, I watched that Ravens game. I mean, the Bills, yeah, they blew out the Broncos, but I don't know. I think Josh Allen's magic will be a little tougher this time around. The Ravens defense has come a long way. I mean, they were giving
Yeah.
up like 600-yard passing every week. They've come a long way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great storylines that can be painted through the eventual Super Bowl matchup, but I don't know. I think East Coast, Baltimore, Philly Super Bowl is you got two running backs who, you know, people were not sure about their what they were worth or who they would go to and all this and that, and then the two teams that get them, they have nearly career years on both teams, and um, I like the Bills. I like same as you. I think Josh Allen's gonna have a good game, and we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be tough. I feel for the Bills fans because they can never get past this divisional hump. But I think I think the Ravens just they win. I have to stick. They were my Super Bowl matchup team, so I gotta keep riding with them. But so I'll
Fair
take the
enough.
Ravens.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to another fun week of playoff football.
Yeah,
It's the best time of year.
yeah. We'll go after this. We'll be down to four teams, and we'll get a better idea of who's going to be in the
I've
Super
said this
Bowl.
before. This is about the only thing that gets me through the worst month of the year. If you're not a football fan, I don't know what you do in January
I
because
don't know.
being sober and not having football to watch, it just sounds miserable.
Yeah, it's been cold here in PA. I don't know what it's like in London. Probably always raining, but
It's been gray, cold, rain, miserable. So yeah, this is
nice.
football is about the only thing getting me through it.
All right. Well, on that note, go birds and peace out.
Peace.